Did you just build a PC? Are you going to build a PC? Do you need some tips and tricks? Well, you just came to the right place. What's going on, guys? So today I'm going to show you simple tricks and tips that I've kind of collected over the last year or two span of me building my PC. Now, what I mean by that is just simple things, simple concept that you should think about when either building a PC or after the process of building your PC. Now, I'm going to start with the first one, which pretty much is build around your necessities. Build around whether you need to be gaming, whether you need to be streaming or creating any kind of content. Now, what I mean by that is you don't need the best motherboard, you don't need the best CPU, and you don't need the best GPU, graphics card, out there right now. So researching the components that you need for your needs as far as gaming is, as far as streaming or gaming on 1080p, you don't really need to go out that far. What I suggest is you should start off with something in the Ryzen series, maybe the 5 series, and start with the motherboard anywhere from $80 to $120. Depending on where you shop, I mostly use Newegg and Amazon to kind of look at reviews and also see the necessities of what I need, and also the detail of the components in the motherboard and everything else where they can come together and practically work for me for what I want it to work for. I think my first gaming rig PC, I started off about $800. I've definitely upgraded since then. As you can see behind me right now, I have a couple components that I'm going to switch out for my computer, but that's later down the road, and I had the time and the money to, upgrade my computer, so I'm definitely going to do it. But starting off, you don't really need to do that. You can probably save your money and honestly just save up for a better component later on and just start simple and small for right now, which kind of gets me into my next point. More money is not better. You shouldn't have to spend so much money on a PC. Nowadays, components are getting more and more expensive, I understand, but really, if you look out and just kind of keep an eye out from different websites or different places, like even Micro Center if there is one around you. But Newegg always has a lot of specials and a lot of sales going on where you can go search in separate catalogs of what you need depending on your component. So spending a lot of money on a PC is not always the best part. Yes, it will be better in the long run, but honestly, starting off, like I said, you don't need to be spending that much money. Start off simple, get to know your PC, and then from there start upgrading, because you have more knowledge of what you want and the components and how they work also. Because you will have to get to know your PC, because it is a long, strenuous journey that is gonna give you some frustration, towards the end. Which brings me to my next point. Have patience. Your PC is very delicate. Your PC will turn off by itself. It'll have a restart loop. It'll crash. It'll have certain files that are corrupted. It'll have the wrong drivers, causing for the graphics card to not work or anything else. There are a lot of components that need to come together and work together and kind of read each other to know and understand what's going on. So when you have a problem, trust me, we've all had these problems. We've all had the frustration, but just have patience, because it's very rewarding in the end, knowing that you yourself have a PC and you built it. But at the same time, it's going to come with a lot of headaches, because I believe that I came across so many problems in the last year alone from trying to build my rig up. So
technology.
I'm going to go on to my next point, which is a really important part. Do not skim on cooling or airflow. Now, what I mean by that is I understand that cases are getting a little bit more expensive nowadays, but it is a necessity. It's something to keep all your components nice and cool in the right place, and also to have enough storage, enough cable management, and just enough space to have fans too for cooling. Now, if you can actually spend a little bit of money on cooling, that's probably the most important part, because you do want to keep your computer very cool, especially your CPU. Your CPU is going to work very hard under a lot of load. So you need to understand that a cool PC is a good PC, and you want to stay in between the range of 30 Celsius to 40 Celsius in idle, and under load, probably around 70 to 85. This is a pretty good range. So what I recommend is trying to put your fans in the right place, making sure you have an intake and outtake, which is an exhaust, making sure that your air is flowing fluently in your case, because if not, most likely your CPU will start burning up a little bit, which will either cause it to shut off, restart, or even damage the CPU in the long run. So please don't skim out on the airflow and cooling. If you can, try to get a water cooler system. If not, try to get a decent fan, maybe something between master cooler and be quiet. They have been really good for me before I started upgrading to NZXT products, which I have again behind me. And it's a cooling system which I know I've done a lot of reviews on it. I've seen a lot of reviews on it, I'm sorry. And I know it's going to work better for my PC in the long run. Going on to my next point, this is also very important. Always back up your drive. Now, what I mean by that is any main files that you have from, let's say, anything that you recorded, anything you saved, any important files, any pictures, any videos, whatever it is, make sure you back it up. What I recommend is probably having another storage unit that's external, something you can plug from the outside of your computer that has around the same storage as your main drive that has Windows or any of your files on it. I've gone through a lot of problems where I've had corrupted files and I had to re-download Windows onto it, and I never even thought about backing up my files. And there were a lot of important videos that I wanted to upload and edit and upload to YouTube, or even my podcasts where I had certain audios that were about an hour and a half long to make content for about 3 episodes, and they were all gone. Just because I turned on my computer and for some reason my computer kept crashing or restarting and I couldn't get to them. So immediately my thought was to reinstall Windows, which did work out in the end, but I did lose everything in the end also. It's something to look into, and also something very important for yourself to kind of keep in the back of your mind to make sure that everything that is important to you will be safe in the end, even if your computer crashes and you have to restart all over again. Going on to my next point, keep your boxes. Everything that you buy for your computer, just keep them. Trust me, I have them all over my room right now. I'm going to make sure that I keep all of them, because most of the time that is what keeps your warranty around too. Most products, I realize, have a year window of warranty, so just in case something happens where it shorts out, or let's say a fan's not working, or even the RGB on it, whatever it is, you can return it. The manufacturer will be most likely okay with you to send a request to get a return, because, I mean, as long as you didn't do anything to expose or damage the component or the hardware or whatever you bought from them, they will more likely work with you to try to get a newer one. Now, you might have to wait a couple weeks, because I'm pretty sure that's a process. Most of the time you will have to send it back, but it's better than spending hundreds of dollars almost to get a part not work and not being able to return it. So be mindful of keeping your boxes. Just try to find somewhere to put them, and it will help you in the long run, trust me, because a lot of components short out and don't work for a lot of people in most scenario cases. So just think about that. So my next one is very important. It's very overlooked, but at the same time, you should really think about this in the long run. RGB is an aesthetic. It's not a necessity. It's nothing you should really put more money towards that you need right now. It's gonna make your computer look good, but it's not gonna make your computer run well. So you can wait, just wait, trust me, for a couple months to get an upgrade. Like, let's say you have an AIO cooler. You don't need one with an RGB. You really don't. I understand nowadays it's a very popular thing to do, and a lot of people are doing it to kind of please their aesthetic, but it's not worth it. You're paying a couple extra bucks just for some flashing lights. I would rather have a computer that runs smoothly and well and save money in my pocket than have something that's flashing and having problems at the same time, or just burning a hole in my wallet. I don't want that. So if you can, trust me, just wait a little bit just to upgrade your parts, or even add RGB LED strips into your case. But right now, it's not worth it. Overlook that, and just know that you want a good quality product that's gonna work, and that's all that matters right now. I believe this is number 8, but always check your drivers. Always update your drivers. It's very important to know that your computer are all on the same page, because if you have older drivers, or even let's say your BIOS on your motherboard, it's gonna run weirdly because it doesn't necessarily know how to work with the other components if they're not fully upgraded or fully updated, sorry. So just make sure you're double checking, especially your graphics card, anything with your CPU, or even your motherboard. Check your BIOS to see if you actually need it. And if you don't, I would wait on it. Which brings me to my next point. Don't necessarily upgrade your Windows or your BIOS unless you need it. If you believe that you would be okay with Windows 11, fine, do it. But at the same time, I would do your research before going on to the next platform of Windows. A lot of people are having problems left and right, especially with video games and the way it is going about processing any data going from your GPU back to your motherboard and so on. And any game that you pretty much upload or even start playing, they've been having a lot of problems left and right, and it kind of strayed me away from it. I want to do a little bit more information on it before I start going to Windows 11. But seeing as I built my PC mostly for gaming and some editing software, it's not really worth it right now. And Windows 10 is working perfectly for me right now. So it's not something that I want to give up at the time or really need. Now, as far as your BIOS, I feel like if your BIOS starts off where you do need an update or you can get an update, I would just wait, because if your parts are running smoothly or everything else is, you don't really need it at the time. If all your components are running smoothly to a point where you're not even thinking of anything's wrong or everything's running smoothly where you're comfortable with where it is, it's not a necessity. It's not. Nothing's really going to happen. Maybe later on, some parts are not going to be compatible with it because it's not fully updated. You can still reach your manufacturer's website. You can go on and find your motherboard, specifically what it is. Make sure you type it in right, because there are a lot of versions of certain motherboards. I think I have 4 versions of the motherboard that I have now. And if you want, you can have a file or a disk drive, or even a USB would be probably the best thing to have, and download that driver onto that USB to have later, just in case your computer doesn't boot up or get past the BIOS window. It's never a bad thing to be prepared, just in case your computer does not want to turn on or get past post BIOS. So like I said, it's also something to think about. And I would say number 10, probably the last one, you're not alone. There are a lot of people I know, including myself, where they've been beginners or they've gone through the stages of building a computer and it's been hard. And trust me, I've been wanting a lot of times to just give up. And there's so many things with software, firmware, components, hardware, and it's hard. It's hard maintaining your computer, and nobody really showed me that until later on when I started getting into a group chat or even looking up on Reddit. If you ever get a chance, go on Reddit and search PC help. They have a whole forum of people that will help each other and basically have the questions that I had or you have or anybody else will, and other people who have gone through those problems will come across your question and probably help you in the meantime. That way it's kind of like a paying forward method, which I think is pretty cool, that such a large community will come together and, help each other out, knowing that other people are going through it and don't want them to have that frustration. So I just want to tell you that it's okay. All right, it's okay to be frustrated, but it's going to get better, and it's very rewarding in the end, and it's such a great thing to have a PC. I love my PC. I've used it every day, and I can't say that I've never felt more rewarded as to when I finally got comfortable and adjusted and okay with my computer, and my computer running so smoothly. Well, there you go. Those are all the simple ones. I have a lot more, but if you want, I can make a video about more tips and tricks, or even share my stories of what I went through, of a lot of crazy things where there was something wrong and I didn't really figure it out until I did my research, and later on I found out it was the craziest thing that I wouldn't think would affect my PC not turning on or working, or one of my components just not working with the other rest of my components in my computer. So please don't be discouraged, and if you have any questions, just put them down in the comment section. I'll get to them. Yeah, don't be shy. I mean, I'm here to help. I want everybody to be on the same page, and there's been a lot of growth in PC building in the last couple of years. A lot of people have decided to put away the consoles and practically start building their own PC, which is great. But as new people come along and we have newcomers, I want to help them so that way they don't have the same problems as me, or they can figure it out and I can have a lending hand to you all. But yeah, I got a couple of videos on the way. I'm going to upgrade my case, my motherboard, and my AIO cooler, just because I had the money and the time, like I said. And I'm going to record videos of those just to kind of show you the setups of how I do it, or how it's supposed to be done. But like I said, any questions or comments, just put them down below and I'll get to them, and I'll try to answer them in a timely fashion. And if you like what you saw, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. I would appreciate any love going to this page. And I'll see you around. All right, guys.